Do you have a theme song?
Oh, do I? I don't have the instrumentals yet, but we're gonna turn this into a concert, I guess.
Welcome to Cardigan Chronicles, an original podcast from Herrick District Library in Holland, Michigan, featuring stories about life in the library, our community, and the world of books. We're your hosts. I'm Amanda, a youth services assistant.
And I'm Heather, a teen librarian. Today we've invited our very own Faith from Groundworks to chat with us, and we will also be chatting with my co-host Amanda. Faith, you haven't been on the podcast with us yet, so could you introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do here at the library?
Yeah, totally. Hi, I'm Faith. I'm the Groundworks assistant here at Herrick. I am here basically making cool stuff, running programs, teaching people how to use the equipment is most of my job. So teaching people, everything from 3D printing to sewing to making podcasts. It's a funny little thing.
Great. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about making today and the journey of a maker. But some people maybe have heard the term maker, not really known what it is. Some people maybe identify themselves as a maker. But what would you say a maker is?
All right. I think there's like a couple of different answers, right? The like general conception of what a maker is someone who just very much so does what it says on the tin, makes stuff, right? And that's a very wide net, obviously, that would encapsulate basically everyone who has done anything ever. There's a little bit of a subculture answer of talking about things like, people who are really into things like Arduino or who are artists and like to paint or sculpt. But the real answer is it really is kind of anyone, in the same way that like kind of everyone to some degree is an artist at some point in their life.
Yeah, I would just say it's somebody who makes something. And it doesn't have to be someone who makes something well. It could be someone who is learning how to make something or someone who is in the process of getting better at making something. It's just you are creating.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing that you could take it as creator. But also, I like to think of makers as also being people who are just curious too. It could be they're curious about how these paints will blend together, or they're curious about how you learn how to code this, or curious about, is there a better way to solve this problem in general? But I also really like what you said, Faith, about everyone at some point in their life can be considered an artist. And I would agree that that's a good way to talk about a maker as well. So if we're talking about what kinds of makers we are, what are you currently making, Faith?
Oh boy, howdy. A lot. It's what I do here at the library.
Mm-hmm.
So would it help to say, what are you currently making at the library?
Sure.
Okay.
I've been on a fun little kick lately for all of our theming for what I like to focus on, which is making funny little guys. It doesn't matter what medium. It can be little stickers. It can be 3D printed stuff. It can be whatever. I just always think it's kind of fun to make a little thing.
The kids in the Bloxels program that we just finished up today really like your business dinos. They love them.
I've seen so many people intrigued by the business dinos, and especially the fact that you even made the box for it too.
Mm-hmm.
I am very proud of my business dinos.
For those that don't know what your business dino is, Can you explain a little bit?
All right. So the spring programming theme was Life Finds a Way this year. And we wanted to run an intro to 3D modeling class. And so the way that we sort of figured out how do we get people interested in that is, well, what if we have them actually make something and then 3D print it? And we wanted to try and make something that was very, it would intrigue people, right? It would call them to come. And so I was going through our LinkedIn Learning, rest in peace, programs, and I ended up watching this video that is by the creator of the sort of lifestyle fashion, or not fashion, I don't really know what it would be really called, but the brand Tokidoki.
Okay.
And talking about his creative process and talking about the need for contrast. And so I was like, okay, what can I mash together? And I like knew one half had to be dinosaurs because of course it's life finds a way. And I was like, I don't know. I was still new to being full time, and so I was like, business office culture, and I smushed them together and got business dinos. And from there, I need you to understand that Dan and I have a full 3-season show planned out about this. For those at home, Dan is the Groundworks coordinator that we have just like been just continuously riffing on.
Do you have a theme song?
Oh, do I? I don't have the instrumentals yet, but we're gonna turn this into a concert, I guess.
Oh man.
All right, hold on. Do I have it written down?
Oh my God.
I'm so excited. A theme song.
I mean, if we actually produced this show, I feel like all the children from Bloxels and just everyone who sees the business dinos would watch it. Maybe we should produce it for social media.
Maybe.
Social media shorts.
All right,
the business
that's the next
library edition.
You know what? I would be so down. I would be so down to do that. All right. I can't find it in my notebook, so I'm just gonna have to remember the lyrics. It's kind of like a ska pop punk type thing. About 68 million years ago, there was a dinosaur oracle. Dinosaurical! Running through the jungle, she fell and hit her head. Received a vision of the future, all dino kind was dead. And then when she came to, she knew to stop this fate, that all the scaly feathered types would have to innovate. Business dinos, business dinos. Paperwork and faxes, the dino mind it taxes. Business dinos, business dinos. Innovate and profit. Is it too late to stop this? Business dinos, business dinos, business dinos. And then there's a little guitar riff at the end. Okay, anyways.
I didn't know that you were also musical, Faith.
Boy, howdy. If you find Steve, ask him for his recording of me at karaoke night.
Oh,
okay. So I don't even remember what our question was before.
we
that.
were saying
Making.
what kind of making do you
okay.
enjoy currently?
Okay, so you told us about the things.
And then we went on a tangent about business dinos.
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Are you making separate things at home that are different than what you're doing here at work?
I try to at this moment, just because I'm in the middle of a move, and that's taking a lot of energy. Not a ton. Most of the making I'm doing at this moment are assembling cheap shelves. That being said, yeah, I have my own projects I work on. I draw mostly. I'm also working on a VR game at the moment. Those are like the two main
What
things.
kind of a program do you use to make a VR game?
Unity.
Okay.
Is what I'm working in right now, just because it's what I'm most familiar with.
Amanda, what kind of work making are you doing?
Work making.
I feel like most of your making's probably home.
It is. I mean, I did have to teach Jake how to cross stitch because we have a cross stitching program in July. We're cross stitching cryptids.
And they're adorable.
They are really cute. There's a variety of them. They all say live, laugh, lurk. But that really overlaps with what I do at home also. I cross stitch. I just started a new cross stitch project of a cat laying on some books, which is pretty on brand for me. And I just learned how to crochet. So
Ooh.
I've been practicing crocheting so we could possibly do a crochet program in the fall.
Well, it's in the program, so we're doing it.
Well, I mean, yes. I have to also teach Jake how to do that.
Yes.
But that will be later on because if you don't do it close enough, you'll forget how to do it.
Yes, it is. It is a very use it or lose it, isn't it?
Yes.
Kind of like math.
Oh, but I also knit a lot. I've knitted 3 entire sweaters now, which I feel pretty accomplished about.
And
Nice.
as someone who has received it, I'm also going to say she's a baker too. She made some lovely strawberry rhubarb bars last week.
I did.
So she's also a baker too.
Mm-hmm.
So from chatting with y'all, it sounds like Faith, you kind of do all things all over the place, but you do more of the high tech making, and Amanda, it sounds like you're more of the low tech making. What kind of got you into the more high tech end of things, do you think, Faith?
Oh boy. I've been doing making since forever. And so I don't know, it probably started honestly, it's because my parents didn't let me play video games as a kid.
Okay.
And so when I did get my hands on video games by the time I was like 13, 14 or so, it was such like a novelty to me that like the only video games I had ever played before then were like Jumpstart Third Grade, Mystery Mountain, and Backyard Baseball. Those were the 2 video games that I played. And so it was such a novelty to me that I was like, oh, well, I want to learn all about this stuff. And then from there, it was sort of, I started on a program called Game Maker, where I started making a lot of different just like silly video games that were just like, here's the Dino Run jump game that you get on Google Chrome, but instead it's my neighbor Jamie, except it's not really my neighbor Jamie. It's a ripped sprite sheet from the Fred YouTuber website.
Okay. I'm going to need a little technical help. Sprite rip sheet.
Sprite. Sprite is a term referring to a 2D asset in a game. So it's specifically usually with pixel art. So a sprite, like in the old Mario games, right? All the little animations of Mario, like that's a sprite. And it's represented as a sprite sheet, which is each individual frame placed a certain distance away from each other. So that way, to animate it, it's just look at this part, look at this part, look at this part, look at this part, instead of having to load a different file each time.
So would you say it would kind of look like a stop motion almost?
Kind of. More like, if you're familiar, I think this is the term, a zoetrope, which is like the thing you spin, and then under the right lighting, it will sort of display a physical animation. Mm-hmm. Similar to that, where it's all of the individual frames of the animation are laid out next to each other, but then it's just varying where you're looking at.
It sounds kind of like you started with the high-tech stuff right away. Would you say that's fair or no?
That's how I started with the high-tech stuff.
Okay.
Before then, I had been making since forever. My dad's a machinist. My mom is a chef and a painter and a poet. And so
a creative family.
A very creative family. My brother works in video editing. Like it genuinely just my entire childhood was like, go draw something. Or, I was in Scouts as a kid, and like that was a huge part of it as well, was like, oh, we're going to learn how to use all these tools and things like that, where it was very much so getting my hands on stuff. I used to weld as a kid. Like
you welded as a kid?
Yeah.
What kinds of things would you weld?
They're like little statues.
Fascinating. I'm fascinated. Like what kind of a statue? Made up creatures, something recognizable?
Mostly recognizable things. Let's see. I mean, they're mostly still my parents' yard. As yard decorations. Let's see. I had a series of ones that I did with like butterflies. Where it was just like metal triangles that were dented in the middle, and then a long wire that would like attach to a base plate. I have this one that's like this kind of Frankenstein creature of just like metal parts, with a face, with just a big frowny, like angry face that I welded on just by drawing directly on it with the welder. Bicandle arms, things like that. I have one of like a dragon that was like, it's not nearly as cool as you're imagining it. It's 2 sheets of plate metal that have been plasma cut out to look vaguely dragon shaped, as best as my 12-year-old hands could like hold the plasma cutter.
So, whole life you can remember being a maker. What about you,
Mhm.
Amanda?
I mean, when I was in elementary school, when you're like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I wanted to be an artist. I've always drawn and written stories. In second grade, my second grade teacher encouraged us to write stories, and she would bind them all. And I wrote a lot of stories about my cat at the time.
Shock.
One of them that I think they go to Chicago, and just I was always writing stories and drawing pictures. And when I got a little older, I wanted to be an art teacher. Actually, when I went to college, I actually originally went to school to be a teacher, and then
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
learned that they had a young adult literature degree and pivoted into that because I was really into books, and I thought I would go into publishing and writing, and I ended up here at the library instead.
But I would still say that your degrees have ended up being an asset to the library with your art background because we do use those things all the time here in
Yeah.
the library.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, and that it's very similar here in Groundworks. I mean, CS major, studio art minor, very much so the
Mhm.
blending of those two concepts.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting
mean-
to see how we all have our library background, but then we have backgrounds in things that you maybe wouldn't associate with the
Mhm.
library, like the art and the computer science. And what was the other one you said?
Studio art minor.
So
what I have
what does
too.
that mean? Yours is also studio.
Uh-huh.
So as someone who is maybe not as art knowledgeable myself, Amanda's seen my art, she can tell you. Though I do enjoy trying. What does studio art mean exactly?
It's what most people think of when they think of an art degree.
Mhm.
Very much so, like classics of like, here's your art history, here's how to do sculptures, here's how to do charcoals, here's how to draw.
So it's
Mhm.
like a broad fine art skills. Is that what?
Yeah, at Central, we could pick, like, you had to take the basics. Like, I had to take an art history. You had to take a basic drawing class. And I wanted to say you had to take a basic painting class. And then you could pick like 2 or 3 other classes to get the minor, like what you wanted to take. So I took a printmaking class, which was fascinating.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say the skills you gained made you more confident as a maker with that then? Would
I
you
would
say
say
it was a
yeah.
big difference? Okay. When do you think you considered yourself being good at making?
I mean, it depends on
Or
what type
do
of
you consider
making.
yourself? Oh, okay.
Because, like, I would say I'm pretty good at painting, drawing, because I did that in college, and like a lot of the fiber stuff, like knitting, crocheting, that sort of thing. But if you get into the more tech side of making, I'm not as like skilled at that sort of stuff.
Fair. I mean, it's always kind of an interplay, and that interplay is very specifically what I spec'd into as far as my degree and like what I did in college. Like I did digital art, I did a lot of the drawing stuff. Even in the drawing classes, I was focusing on digital drawing, and sort of working on the interplay of those two. Art history was interesting, and it provided a lot of context because here, genuinely, like, if you are someone who is interested in art, take an art history class. It doesn't have to be like a long one, but like get an overview because it provides so much context. Like the black squares, I had no context for that originally, and then if I remember correctly, it was like a critique of like Orthodox, like East Orthodox, I think.
Yeah,
I'm sitting here giving y'all what in the world
it's
are you
been
talking
a
about
really long time
expressions?
since I took art history, and I didn't particularly like my art history class because my professor was more about rote memorization, like remember what this time period, what time period this painting comes from, what time period, like it was more that sort of art history as opposed to the like contextual, like this is why this movement happened. We had to memorize stuff, and I'm not good at memorizing stuff.
That's fair. Neither am I.
Okay. Is black square painting?
So like when a lot of people like critique like modern art, right? A lot of people, when they
Oh.
will like critique modern art, they'll be like, it's just a black square, right? But the original piece of that was from, I believe, the early 1900s, and it was a very specific critique about the idolization of saints. And it was in the context of having like a fake living room set up and having the places where the saints would be replaced with those black squares, as like a statement on you are idolizing nothing, as like a religious statement. If I'm remembering correctly, it's been a bit.
I mean, if you dive into art history, there's a lot of hidden messages in like paintings and stuff that you don't know unless you look into the symbolism of the time period that they were painting this stuff in. Because they were like, oh, I'm trying to comment on whatever's happening at the time, but you don't know it until you learn it, sort of thing.
Right. It's because it's all contextual. Everything is contextual forever.
My math major brain wants things to be what they are.
Well, English or literature and art, not so much the math for me.
Yeah, it's okay. That's why we have each other. We balance.
We balance each other.
Because if you didn't know, Faith, I write things and I go, Amanda, will you check my grammar?
You know what? That's fair. Listen, you might be able to tell just from listening to me talk ever. I am also not exactly the most grammatically astute.
I'm a comma splicer myself.
She either uses too many or not enough.
Yep.
Never the correct amount.
I blame my grammar teachers in school because this is how I was taught. They said, whenever you pause to take a breath, put a comma.
Oh boy. Personally, I'm partial
to. Just to be clear, that's wrong, people. Don't do that.
Fair, very fair. Yes, similarly, I am partial to abusing the semicolon and having way too many of them.
Okay. I don't know that I ever really use a semicolon. Interesting. I'd like to see that. Okay. We've gotten way off topic here.
Yes, we have.
So I'm going to bring it back for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to ask, so I know, Faith, you said you've been making forever. What's a real first memory that you have of something that you made on your own, and what was it?
When I got that question, it was really hard to answer because that on your own section is what like made it hard for me. Because again, I come from a very creative family, and so anything I was doing, my parents would immediately be like, "Oh, hey, do you want help with that?" And I would always be like, "Okay, yeah, sure." So the earliest one I could come up with wasn't until I was like 7 or so.
I like how you're saying that like it was so late in life.
Look, I don't know, because I definitely made stuff before then, but like it wasn't on my own. It was with my parents and stuff. And that was me and my friend Joe. We were neighborhood buddies. We were little goblins who lived in our neighborhood. We would scooter all over the place, and specifically we would fight with Nerf swords. That was our thing. We would always pretend to be some generic high fantasy type, like tree elves of some sort. I wasn't. It was very much so that type of deal. And so I was like, I'm tired of Nerf swords. I want a big axe. And so I went down into my dad's wood shop and I found a dowel and I found a piece of plywood and I cut a big axe shape out of it on the bandsaw.
On the bandsaw?
Yeah, it's the bandsaw. It's like the safest saw to be using that isn't manual.
Okay, continue. Sorry.
And then, just to take some nails just on the back of it, just reinforced with duct tape, as one does when you're 7, and, you've got an axe. And then you and your friends can go hit each other with them.
Okay, real question. Did Joe get a concussion?
No.
Okay.
We're children. We're 7. We never get really injured. I'm joking, obviously.
I was going to say I've got a bent thumb that says otherwise.
Fair enough.
What about you, Amanda? Were you also 7?
I don't remember. Like, I was trying to think of, like, an impactful, like something that I made when I was a kid that I really remember, and I can't think of anything besides little books that I wrote.
Oh,
I'm giving Faith a hard time, but mine is also at the age of 7. Just wasn't an axe.
Although we did, those like loom knitting things.
Yes.
So those were big. Me and my sisters and my cousin were really into making hats with those for a long time when I was a kid. We made so many hats.
Hats? We just made hot pads.
No, we made whole hats. We were really into that for a while.
what type of hat?
Like a knitted hat. They're like, I don't
Like
know
a beanie?
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen the like circular, they're like circles and they have pegs on them. That makes it easy to knit.
To be fair, the loom I had was square. So
No, we had circle ones, so we would make hats out of them. Yeah, we did that a lot when I was younger. That and what was it called? You would make like rugs. You would do like little pieces of thread along
like
in a
weaving,
pattern.
kind of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
we did
yeah. I
that a
know.
lot
Yeah.
too when I was a kid.
Very
Really
nice.
into the yarn stuff, I guess.
What do you think appeals to you about the yarn?
I don't know. I like that, like with knitting and crocheting, you're just essentially making a bunch of knots, and then it turns into something really cool if you're following a pattern. I just like that.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
What do you find appealing about making, Faith?
Oh boy, howdy. Honestly, I like that just when I make something, it's real now. Just because so much of my making is like based around realizing a concept, right? Where like, again, it's a little guy I'm rotating in my brain, and then I need to make it real. Same with like drawing and stuff too. Like, early going back to like early memories, like ever since I was a little kid, I was like, I want to draw Kingdom Hearts, but I'm the main character and I have Pikachu with me.
That's a crossover.
Boy, howdy is it. And thanks to the help of a very kind old man at my church named Ernie Moore, rest in peace. He was like, oh, well, I used to be an architect. I can teach you to draw. It was very lovely.
That sort of delves into like fan fiction. Like I still have a notebook. I essentially wrote Harry Potter fan fiction about Harry Potter's secret twin sister, Heather.
Heather! Oh my gosh! How have we not talked about this?
I don't know. I found it when I was at my parents' house the
That's
last time I was
amazing.
there. It's like a whole notebook. I wrote this whole story about his secret sister, Heather.
What did I do?
I don't.
Basically, I just want to make myself a wizard. If you've been making for so long, I mean, obviously, we're not going to be perfect makers when we start out, and I would argue you're never a perfect maker. So, have you ever had any really fun fails or really disappointing, frustrating fails while you've been making and learning?
I sure have. So this requires some context. I went to West Ottawa, West Ottawa High, and this was specifically my junior year, and I was part of the first semester that they had TSI, which is Technical Support Internship. It was the first year that they had gotten Chromebooks, and so they were like, hey, let's recruit a bunch of students to fix the laptops. And the rest of the class was, I don't know, do a tech project and write a proposal at the beginning of the year for a tech project and then have it done by the end of the year. Or end of the semester. And so mine was this very vague researching virtual reality, because it was 2016. The HTC Vive had just come out, which was like the first commercially available modern wave of VR headsets. And so like that was kind of my thing. But I had also kind of managed to talk my way into, hey, you should let me play with that pile of computer parts that we keep in the back. And so at one point, I was really into Jacob's ladders, the things from old sci-fi movies where it has the big arc of lightning going up it, and it goes like,
I was definitely imagining the piece of wood with the string, with the ribbon back and forth that you
No.
flip. That's what I was imagining.
No. This is the one where if you touch it, you die.
Okay.
And so I had recently, a few weeks earlier, made one with my dad in our basement using a microwave transformer.
As one does.
As one does. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. I could make a small one here if I just used a computer power supply. And we have plenty of those. And so I took this computer power supply apart, and I was starting to put it together. I was starting to sort of take it apart, rewire it so that it was a Jacob's ladder, where essentially you have this really small part at the beginning where the two wires get very close to each other to create that initial arc, and then the heat of the plasma causes it to rise. Funny thing, if those two wires touch each other, something fun happens, known in the biz as a short circuit. And very specifically, I may have, allegedly may have welded these two together with their own current and blacked out the entire classroom by destroying, by short-circuiting this computer power supply that was being run in a way it wasn't supposed to be.
Oh my gosh. You blacked out the classroom. Just your classroom or the whole building?
Just the classroom.
Okay. Do you have such an epic fail too?
I mean,
And I mean epic in the best way there, Faith.
I mean, I was thinking about this, and mine also comes from high school, and I also went to West Ottawa, but earlier than you. And since I was so into art stuff at that time, I took as many art classes as I could. At the time, we had a ceramics class offered in high school, and one of the things we could do was throw pots on a pottery wheel, and I was like, that'll be easy. I could do that. No. You know how hard it is to make an actual thing on a pottery wheel? It's so hard.
I wish I knew. Every time I try to sign up for a pottery class.
That's
it's
right.
full.
You're cursed.
I am pottery cursed. Have I told you?
Yes. Yes.
I'm, for those of you that don't know, I, Heather, am pottery cursed.
It's harder than it looks, just warning you. I had a roommate in college actually who took a ceramics class for fun, and she had to get a ceramics tutor because she couldn't figure out how to make her things tall.
So what are you looking at learning about and becoming a maker in next?
I mean, I mentioned earlier that I just started crocheting, and the only thing so far that I've made is a Spider-Man plushie. But I would like to learn more about how, like granny squares, and there's a lot of different things you can do with crochet. So I think that might be my next rabbit hole of making.
Very fair. For me, it's probably more in the VR space because right now I'm more in the preliminary planning phase. And while I've done VR game work before, it was like my college thesis, wasn't good. And so this time I'm going to do a good game instead of a bad game. And so sort of getting back into 3D modeling and specifically 3D texturing, where you're actually making the model look good. Totally unrelated. Also, clay. I want to make little clay figurines. I was at the Tulip Time artisan fair, and there was an artist there whose stuff I really liked, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. If I remember correctly, Jenna Bean, her name was. She just does these really cute little pots and little characters. Just incredibly cute aesthetic, and I was like, oh, I want to do that.
Mm-hmm. I do love that feeling of seeing oh, I like that, and then being like, I want to see if I can do that too,
Mm-hmm.
or then being like, I like that, but I want to do this to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I also enjoy making. I would say that I'm less of an original idea and more of an adapter. When it comes to making, I like to see a base of something and then think about how I can change it to kind of make it my own. What do y'all feel about that? Where do you think you might be in that, or do you think it changes?
I think it depends on what I'm doing. Because knitting, crocheting, cross stitch is all usually pattern based. Like you're following something someone made. The only thing I feel comfortable making patterns for is cross stitching, because I use a free software called Floss Cross where I can make my own patterns in there and then it'll spit it out as a cross stitch, like with a guide and everything. But knitting, and I don't feel comfortable making my own patterns and like tweaking things because I don't feel like I know it well enough.
I feel like that floss cross, though, is a very nice crossover for something that's not usually considered high tech and using tech to help support it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
What do you think? Are you an original idea or are you an adapter, Faith?
I am a masher. I again, like I said, I will oftentimes latch onto something and then I will mash it with my own stuff. So for example, latest example is art style that I became obsessed with replicating, which is for the show Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I love that show. It's great. If you haven't seen it, watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World first and then the show, because the show is very much so a response to the movie, and to the cultural stuff that followed the movie. Sorry. But it has a really cute art style that's based off the original comic. And I became obsessed with like learning it. I have like every character reference sheet downloaded onto like a Pinterest board, basically onto my or not actually a Pinterest board, but like an equivalent on my computer. And like that's like a very big thing for me is just like finding elements of other pieces of art that I enjoy and then mixing them with my stuff.
That's what I like about doing painting classes here, because I've done a couple of painting classes and I always start it by saying, you can follow me or you can take what I'm doing and add your own flair to it. And you always get a variety of stuff in those programs.
I always love seeing what other people come up with. So we have all made different things in Groundworks while we have been here. What would you say your favorite thing, either the favorite thing that you have made since in Groundworks or your favorite thing that you've learned to make in Groundworks?
The dreams of young children come through the power of block cells.
I mean, that whole program was just a learning curve on its own.
I said this earlier, the immense confidence of children will never not be funny to me. Nah, we didn't need all that planning.
I wish
we didn't need that.
I wish we could all be so confident.
God, real. Yeah. But I guess if I'd have to say my favorite thing at the moment is probably my mini-me, which granted has been heavily helped by a patron who comes in and enjoys painting. She does a wonderful job.
She's one of our regular teens. She knows who she is.
Yes. Yes, she does. But yeah, she's done a great job. She's added a ton of details to it. But I did the model and the like paint job, or at least the base coat of it, and
that's a program you're doing in the fall, right?
It is indeed. Yes, that's right. In the fall, everybody will be able to come in. It's a 2-parter. First part, people come in and go through the process of taking a photo of themselves or a drawing that they've done, turning it into a 3D model, fixing it up in Blender, and then putting it onto the 3D printer. And then, or in between these 2 classes, we'll put them on the 3D printer, run it through. And then part 2 is they come back and they paint them.
Very nice. Amanda, have you decided? Would you like to know what my favorite thing was? I would say my favorite thing has been learning how to do stained glass. I think it's amazing that we work at a place where, one, we get to actively learn new things all the time and are encouraged to learn new things. And then 2, get to bring those things to our library patrons. And we've did stained glass snowflakes, stained glass snake plant. So it was 3D stained glass. And then we've also had adult stained glass programs with geometric designs. And I've always found stained glass fascinating. And it was, I think, probably one of my favorite programs that I've gotten to do here with the teens. and lucky that we have Groundworks to do it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess one of the favorite programs I've done in Groundworks, the pet house thing was really fun. My dad came to that one, and he ended up taking his home and finishing his little house. It's a mini version of his house that he lives in. He literally used the paint that he painted the walls of the house to paint inside the walls. He had me make the little welcome mat that they have in front. He added cat scratchers for a deck. Like it. You took it and he ran with it.
That's the most dad thing I can imagine. I'm going to use the same paint.
Yep. Oh, and he had a piece of carpet. So, and the cats actually use it. He has lots of pictures of the cats going in and out of it. So
It's adorable.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. At some point, we need to do something with the fact that if you apply wheat paste to cardboard, you can just like layer it in alternating directions. People make cardboard like furniture.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And like you can even waterproof it if you like apply like a beeswax mix. Sorry, off topic.
So it's been great getting to talk to you about your making journey and looking to see what you decide to make next. And I encourage others to come check out to see what's being made in Groundworks and learn for yourself too. But now we're going to take it over to our Book Bites segment. And for Book Bites today, we are going to be talking about nonfiction books and books more specifically that can help you learn how to make things. Amanda, what book are you talking about today with us?
So I'm talking about a book called Mending Matters by Katrina Rodabaugh. I don't know if that's how you say her last name. But it's a book that teaches you 4 main ways to like mend your clothes, but mend them in a way that's like visible mending, but like looks like it's embroidered. So I checked out the book because I wanted to learn how to mend some of my jeans. So I used that, and now I mend my jeans all the time. But it's also a book that like talks about mending as a way of sustainability. So instead of, oh, this has a hole in it, I'm just going to throw it away. But like you should be learning how to mend stuff so it lasts longer. And it was just a really interesting book looking at all the different ways that she mends her clothes and talks about sustainability in the clothing industry in general. I really enjoyed it.
Great. Faith, I believe you are joining us on our Book Bite segment today too. Thank you. What book do you have to share?
It's one called Home for Now, by Jonah Thornhill. It's not like super wordy by any means. It's not like a super in depth, but it's really nice like reference material. It's about making the most out of spaces and small spaces, what you can do to make things that make that space more efficient, ways you can arrange furniture, things like that, which, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm in the middle of a move, which has been very helpful because on Heather's comment of being young, I'm moving out of my parents' house and moving into my first apartment. And so I have 20 years of stuff to figure out how to make fit into an apartment.
Challenge.
So yes, it's got a lot of really cool diagrams, a lot of really great pictures. Again, it's very straightforward.
I like visual support. Yeah. So the book I have today is called A Passion for Baking by Lionel Vatanet. I am so sorry if that's wrong for the last name. It is French. I'm trying my best. I actually found out about this book from when I lived in North Carolina. There is a bakery called La Farm, and it's Lionel's bakery. And he is a Frenchman, and he's moved to America, and he was a baker there. He's professionally trained, and he just wanted to bring his quality organic bread making and his own little slice of Parisian food to America, and specifically to Cary. And I can say with confidence, his bread is really delicious. And his book, A Passion for Baking, just goes through all the steps for how to make just really killer sourdough breads and other types of French breads. And he ventures out into some of the Italian breads like ciabatta and other things like that too. And he gives just, if you are curious about why the process is what it is when you're baking that bread, or why adding this or doing this in this order is going to change something in your bread. He does a really nice job of explaining and telling you why you're doing what you're doing so that you can be successful at making a really good loaf of bread. So it's a good one to check out if you are interested in becoming a bread maker. And if you are a yeast killer like I am, he can talk you through how to do that sourdough starter in a really nice way. But that's it for our Book Bite segment today and for Cardigan Chronicles Journey to a Maker. Thank you for joining us. And please come check out the library. You can find books about how to expand your making knowledge or stop in Groundworks and check out all the different equipment they have here and learn from Dan and Faith. They can walk you through the process. Thanks for joining us.